Hi everyone, this is Veronica and today we are going to discuss this topic, powering South Asian integration. So first of all, we are here talking about export and import, you can say trade of electricity in the South Asian region. So here I'm not showing you the maps because already we are giving you a lot of information. So you have to brainstorm here a little bit. Which countries are included in South Asian region? You should know that this is very important for you. Though I will tell you, but you just need to brainstorm. Just try to imagine the map, a world map, and see which is the region constituting South Asia. So here we are talking about South Asian integration, as the other blocks like European Union, ASEAN are there. They are already very strong. So we have to make a block here for the integration of this region. So here we are talking it regarding the agreements in the electricity or the power sector. For my video updates, you can follow me on Instagram and the PDF of this lecture will be uploaded on my Facebook profile. So guys, this is the channel StudyIQ. If you're preparing for any government exam, our pen drive and tablet courses are also available. For the additional information, you can visit our website or you can call on these numbers given on the screen. So my explanation of my video is available in both the languages, Hindi and English. Now, what is the relevance of this topic in the exam? See, for the prelims, it's very important. What is South Asian integration? What are the different global groupings in the world? Like there is European Union, ASEAN, BBI, and BIMSTEC, SARC. You should know about them, who are the member countries of each group. Now for the mains level, bilateral relations, because here you must have heard about the Gujarat Doctrine. You must have heard about the Look East policy, and now we call it Act East policy. So this is very important, that how we are maintaining our relations with our neighbors. So for mains perspective, this is very important to bilateral relations. Now why it is in news? Because recently what has happened, the Ministry of Power in India, they have issued a new guidelines for the trade of power, trade of electricity to our neighboring countries. So earlier also we had some guidelines which were issued in 2016, but those guidelines were very restrictive and a lot of protest, or you can see India got a very so much pressure from the neighboring states to mend those guidelines. Therefore we issued new guidelines in 2018. So what is the whole story? Why this trading, these kind of agreements can help integrate the South Asia region? We'll discuss that. So now firstly, as I told you earlier also, there were some guidelines in 2016 which were very restrictive, and we received a lot of protest and a lot of arguments from our neighboring countries like Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bhutan. So we'll just discuss that. What were the problems with these guidelines? So basically these 2016 guidelines, they imposed major restriction on who could actually engage in cross-border electricity trade. So there was a strong undercurrent of defensiveness in the guidelines of 2016 because they seemed to be a reaction to perceptions of increased Chinese investment, because to prove the hegemony in this Indian subcontinent, China tries to counterbalance India, and India always tries to counterbalance the force of Chinese in different countries. So these guidelines of 2016, they were reaction of some perceptions of increased Chinese investment and influence in the energy sectors of our South Asian neighbors. So which countries are included in the South Asia region? So let me tell you, you can start from the Afghanistan, then there is India, then you have Pakistan, then you have Bangladesh, you have Sri Lanka, Nepal, okay, Bhutan, Maldives, then Myanmar. Some scholars considers Myanmar in South Asia region, some scholars consider it in Southeast Asian nations. So these countries have high Chinese investment. Therefore India got angry and we made these tough 2016 guidelines. Therefore no country could import and export, because the main importer of electricity in this region is India only. So when India has given some tough guidelines, then there is loss to all these countries, economic losses, because they have already invested high in their hydroelectric projects. Okay, so now these guidelines actually prevented anyone. So what were these guidelines? Why they were so restrictive? Because they prevented any one other than Indian generators in these countries or generators owned by that country's government from selling power to India. So let me explain. So suppose India said we will import electricity from these neighboring countries only if these are generated by an Indian company, or the company who's selling the electricity to India, Indian company, any Indian company has a major share in that company. So if some Sri Lankan company wants to sell electricity to India, we will not buy it, because for that it is necessary to be an Indian company, or the major share is to be held by Indian company. Only then India will buy the electricity from these countries. So that is why these were much restrictive policies. So now what happened? Excluded were scores of privately held companies, particularly now Nepal. It has also invested a lot of his financial investment in hydroelectric projects, because they were hoping to sell this electricity to India. So they also pressurized India that we have already invested a lot of money in this project, and now you are telling you are not going to buy it from us. Next, this Bangladesh, Bhutan also thought to sell electricity to Bangladesh. Bangladesh thought through the land of India they will import electricity from Bhutan. But now Bhutan was also protesting against this decision of 2016 guidelines, and there was a spin-off effect on our other ventures also. Because of these restrictive guidelines, it created a friction in the joint ventures between India and Bhutan and even other countries also. And same was the case with Bangladesh. Their hopes died soon after 2016 guidelines. Now see, what are the key features of 2018 guidelines? What are the main features? See, the Ministry of Power, they have issued new guidelines for import and export of electricity and power trading with neighboring countries. Now these 2018 guidelines will replace the existing guidelines which were issued in 2016, and we received a lot of protest from the neighboring countries. Now the objective of new guidelines is the same as previous one. What is the objective? To facilitate and promote cross-border trade of electricity, developing a dynamic and robust electricity infrastructure for import and export of electricity, and a reliable grid operation and transmission of electricity in this region. Now see, what is the main difference? How we remove those restrictions? Because earlier we said the power transactions can only take place through bilateral agreements between two countries. Suppose Sri Lanka, or you can say Bangladesh and India, are agreeing on a power agreement, only then a power transaction can take place. But now we liberalized these rules, and we said that the common the GENCOs, the power generating companies, or the DISCOMs, distributing companies of India, can directly deal with the other country on several trading licensing, but there were certain restrictions that they have to take government approval. So we have definitely liberalized the earlier restrictions, we have removed them and issued some new guidelines in 2018. So why there was this whole course of correction? Now see, India was the only country who actually brought in this idea of South Asian integration. So this idea was introduced in 2002 and 2003 of this power sharing. Because India knew it, that we are the fastest growing economy, we are developing country, we are growing fast, we would need lot of energy, lot of electricity, and we can get this electricity from our neighboring countries. Therefore India started signing power trade agreements with Bhutan, Bangladesh and several neighboring countries, because Indian economy was on rise. Now see, India has an importance in this kind of agreements because of our location. We are on a strategic location, that like if Pakistan and Sri Lanka have to deal in electricity, they have to cross the Indian state. Same is for Bangladesh. If it has to buy electricity from Nepal, then it has to cross. So India is there in all the agreements. So definitely there is a monopoly. Now what happened? See, this course of correction, because of China started to invest in their electricity companies in these countries. So India thought that we won't be getting benefit, instead China will get benefit from this. Therefore we brought in 2016 restrictive guidelines, but because of the pressure from these countries and to build a strong bloc in this South Asian region, we brought in 2018 guidelines. Now see what is the significance of 2018 guidelines. So because we have seen, because of 2016 restrictive policies, there was a friction in the relations between Bhutan and India in various other agreements also. So it can happen in reverse also. If we have now liberalized our rules in 2018, so we can see a spin-off effect. Spin-off effect means if we are there, we have a monopoly in power sector, then we can have good relations, and spin-off effect can be seen in other agreements and other relations also. For example, Sri Lanka has to sell electricity of its windmills to Pakistan, so it has to go through Indian territory. So therefore there is a scope of improvement of relations between India and Pakistan also. So therefore it is very important for India. And for greener grid also, as you know, right now India, for its major consumption of electricity, we depend upon our traditional resources like coal. So now what is the thing? We want to shift our electricity production from traditional sources to renewable resources, but there is a problem with renewable resources because there's a lot of fluctuation with the power generated through renewable resources. They are not constant. Sometimes they're very high, sometimes they are very low. So when there is lesser production from renewable resources, we can import electricity from our neighboring countries. So this is another benefit. Moreover, if you see, by making such agreements, we are creating a strong bond of interaction in South Asian region. Therefore we have named this topic as powering the South Asian integration. So we can see an integration among the nations of South Asia by signing such agreements. Now see what is the way forward, how we can conclude. See, there are already hard borders on our in this region. We can convert into India's soft power, or we can convert these borders into soft borders by signing this such kind of agreements. And obviously because of the geographic centrality, the location of India, we can counter China in many respects by having a dominance in this sector, and therefore a spin-off effect can be seen in other sectors also. So there is overall benefit for India only in such kind of agreements. I hope this topic is clear to you. But yes, there is a challenge, a concern shown by other countries also, because of political influences, we usually influence such activities. Like, you know what happened, there was a motor vehicle act, a motor vehicle agreement which has to be signed. It was introduced in SAARC, but you know SAARC is not working well. Then it was introduced in BBIN, that is a global that is a grouping between Bhutan, Bangladesh, India and Nepal. But later on Bhutan also withdrew from this agreement, and later it was signed between BIN, that is Bangladesh, India and Nepal. So we have seen, because of political influences, such agreements get disturbed. So therefore we need to settle an independent institution to deal with, to regulate such kind of agreements. Right now there is monopoly of India only. So if in case in future again India got angry or India got some issue and they again impose the restrictive policy, so all the nations will suffer. If the nations will suffer, we will spoil our bilateral relations with our neighboring countries. Therefore we need to settle a separate independent institution which can regulate such kind of agreements between the several blocks, like here South Asian nations, right? So this is the challenge, how it can be dealt. So now there's a question for you. India has a free trade agreement with which of the following? ASEAN, Mercosur or European Union. So what is the right answer? It is 2. We have free trade agreement with these two groupings. And now for the mains question. The new electricity guidelines are the first step towards creating a true regional market. Critically examine the statement. So you need to critically examine the statement. You have to give here the international perspective, the benefit India can have, the greener grid concept, right? You can talk about 2016 guidelines, you can talk about 2018 guidelines, why we changed, what was the restrictions, what is the new policy. So you can write and analyze your question here, answer here. So thank you. If you have any questions, you can contact me, and the PDF will be uploaded on the Telegram channel. Thank you.